Hello everyone, welcome to this Namos user group webinar. This one is about modern sourcing using Oracle Fusion, and we've got Andy Curley and Hassan Khan presenting. We have a Q&A feature and a chat, so if you have questions, please can you enter those into there, and then we'll try to address those towards the end, just because we got to get through a lot of stuff today, so we'll address those at the very end and go through the questions at the end. Also, just one thing to mention, we've got quite a few demos today, so we'll mean switching from screen to screen, so please bear with us if you see us switching from screen to screen. But with that said, over to Hassan and Andy.
Hi guys, thanks for joining today's session. Today, just put the presentation. Today we're looking to run through advanced procurement, with a particular focus upon sourcing. Some of you may use sourcing. I see Mike on the call who uses sourcing as his company, and we will walk through modern sourcing using negotiations, contracts and qualifications. We want this to be more system-based. We'll talk through some of the scenarios, we'll talk through some of the modules and the benefit and the functions of those modules, but predominantly we want to get heavily into the system and show you an end-to-end process from a sourcing perspective. In this demo that Hassan will be performing, then we'll be utilising one of our demo environments, and that's patched to the current release of 25C. You will see that once we're going through this, that basically we're utilising the standard suite of applications and not the Redwood version from the point of view of negotiations, SQM, and also procurement contracts. And that's purely because a number of the functionality that's actually available in standard is not currently available in Redwood in these modules. However, in the deck, we've given you some slide views of what that looks like within Redwood from a negotiations perspective. When we utilise the supplier portal, then we will be using Redwood, so you'll see what it looks like from a supplier perspective in Redwood. Okay. As I mentioned, we'll probably get about 45 minutes really going through the presentation plus the demos. So therefore, please put your questions into the chat, and therefore then we'll have a Q&A session at the end, and then we can walk through any questions that may have been risen by yourselves. And also on top of that, then we can't give you an answer to there and then. We will come back to you post the call. So if we walk through the agenda, we'll just talk about introduction and background. We'll talk about the scope and required outcomes. We'll then look at sourcing. What's sourcing from an Oracle perspective? What functionality can you expect from sourcing? We'll then provide a demo from a sourcing perspective end to end. We will then discuss Supplier Qualification Management. We'll then look at procurement contracts. We'll then go over some key takeaways, and therefore at the back end of that we'll do a question and answer session. Now what you will find during the sourcing process is that Hassan will show you also linkages from there into SQM and also into procurement contracts. So background, my name's Andy Curley. I'm a procurement and SCM practice lead for Namos. I've worked with a number of colleagues that are on the call from different organisations, and I've been in Oracle for over 25 years for my sins. So experience with regards to procurement and obviously supply chain. My colleague Hassan Khan is senior consultant for Namos, looking after purchase to pay and also supply chain. Again, over 15 to 20 years experience within Oracle, and also very experienced with regards to advanced procurement suite of modules. So from a scope perspective, so this webinar is really to look at the advanced procurement applications processes needed to support the procure to business flows. It's an exciting time within Oracle at the moment. From a procurement perspective, we're seeing a lot of advances in terms of the product that's in offer and how it will facilitate day-to-day business from a procurement professional perspective. Sourcing, has come on leaps and bounds from where it was a few years ago, supported by Supplier Qualification Management, how we qualify our suppliers, and also from a procurement contracts perspective. Different organisations use some of these modules in different ways, and we will just walk through the basics and also how we can utilise these modules within the current businesses. Yeah. So when we talk about an overview of the Advanced Procurement Suite, we're really talking about negotiations, sourcing, contracts being the contract management, and then the supplier qualification management aspects of managing suppliers and also qualifying them to actually participate in negotiations and also going through that whole onboarding process. So what we can do is have collaborative negotiations, we can force contracts, and we can manage our suppliers and score our suppliers effectively. Yeah. So let's talk about sourcing. So what is Oracle Cloud Sourcing? As it says there, it's a platform to run competitive events, whether it's requests for information, RFPs, RFQs. We can also perform auctions to select suppliers and secure best value related to the requirements that the business has. We can support lots, bundles, put in cost factors, have multi-currency analysis for a total landed cost. We can provide through the process, we can provide objective information to score a supplier, as well as performing some subjective criteria and decisions upon who will win the RFQs and who we knock out and who we eliminate. And we have got full transparency with regards to those decisions within the system. We can pull in different areas of the business to perform different tasks, so they're part of the sourcing process. For example, we can have the commercial team providing the commercial information, and also the technical team, for example, performing all the technical review of the bid that's been provided by the supplier. Yeah. We can also tie that back to supplier management for eligibility controls, so we can actually restrict who's going to be involved and who's going to be asked to tender based upon the eligibility controls. Say, for example, for green and for sustainability controls, we can have some qualifications in place that will actually indicate whether a supplier is qualified or not, and we can restrict those down to those suppliers that can be eligible to participate in the negotiation. And this can be utilised for purchasing and contracts for execution. The other thing that we do have fully within the system is fully integrated with Supplier Portal, where you can have collaboration electronically, and also the messaging. So it's collaborative messaging that can go across the network. Yeah, so everything can be retained within the system, and everything is totally transparent within the system, and you can collaborate with your suppliers and also, utilise the Supplier Portal in order to facilitate the negotiation process. There are other opportunities to do that manually, but if you take it to its fullest extent, then basically this is where we would really see major benefits within the system. So just to give you an overview with regards to what the functionality is within sourcing, we can run RFIs, RFPs, e-auctions, we can do multi-rounds, we can do knockouts, we can do cost factors to facilitate some of the scoring. We can configure response rules, whether it's a sealed or unsealed bid, whether you're going to allow surrogate bids. You can do it by proxy. You can auto extend the timelines or a staggered close, and then also indicate event timelines. You can invite suppliers directly via the supplier portal. You can enforce eligibility with supplier qualification and also with the profiles. We can score requirements with weighted criteria, and we can support a two-stage techno commercial evaluations and by all teams within the business, whoever you want to be involved within the negotiation itself, and it's all collaborative. We can run real-time bids and also have that ranked, and we have a landed cost. We can do it in multi-currency, and you can do your side-by-side comparison with regards to the bids on the screen. The system can also show you their preferred bid, but again, from a procurement professional perspective, you can make the judgment about what is the best bid for a total value. You can use negotiation templates and reusable clauses. Again, you can have a terms library within the procurement contracts, which you can utilise within your negotiation templates. So therefore, you can have standard templates, say for example, for IT tenders, for I'm going to say cleaning tenders, etc., etc., etc. And you have different templates there, so you can utilise that time and again and just update as required. You can generate award recommendations and split awards across suppliers. You can, these you can automatically convert to a PO or to a blanket contract agreement or to a contract, and then go through there. And Hassan will show this later. All these can be supported by approvals. You have full audit trail, and obviously at the back end of that, without all these transactions being in the system, then basically we can have OTBI analytics for providing further information with regards to how the negotiations went, and also for providing savings, cycle time, compliance, and even supplier performance with regards to the bid itself. So in terms of the process we're going to utilise today, then basically what we're going to do is we're going to start off from a requisition to show that basically the business has a requirement for a new spend. We don't have a source, so therefore the system can then raise a requisition, and then from a requisition we can actually utilise that information to then undertake and convert to an RFQ and go through the sourcing process. So Hassan, once he's gone through the demo, will raise a requisition in standard self-service procurement. The requisition itself will be approved. We'll then go to the sourcing team, who will then convert the requisition into negotiation. We will then go through the definition of the negotiation. We'll then publish the negotiation. Now, when you publish the negotiation, what you can do is you create an abstract. In the abstract, you can then publish to a URL, which will then hold the full status of the negotiation through the different phases of the negotiation, and that can be published for anyone to actually view within the system. Yeah. From there, then what we will do is we will send that negotiation to the relevant suppliers for them to quote. The suppliers will then accept to be part of the negotiation and then send back their bid. Based upon whatever definitions of the negotiation that you have, then basically the sealed, unsealed, and a date when the negotiation will be complete, then basically you will have, post that, then you'll have all the information in the system to do your analysis. You can extract that to Oracle, and therefore then you will, to Excel, and you will have that available for you to do your decision based upon subjective or objective information. You can finalise the award by deciding who to place the business with and submit for approval. Now, these are standard approvals within the system based upon the transaction type, and so therefore you can route this to be approved by whatever levels you need within your business to support approvals. Once it's been approved, then basically you can automatically generate the relevant PO or standalone PO or blanket agreement or contract agreement, and for the awarded negotiation, and that can be then published directly back to your supplier via the supplier portal, and that will also update the negotiation abstract with regards to those details. You can also supply the results of that and the decisions why that award was made, and that will be available for anyone to see who's got access to the URL. Yeah, and at that point, then basically what we will see is the fact that the relevant purchasing documents have been created, and it's available now for the supplier to supply against. Okay, so that's the overview. Now, this is just to show you what the screens look like. So currently what you see on here is the fact of, we have two red boxes here. We've got the standard sourcing, which is negotiations. And then in future, what you will have is the Redwood sourcing application. As mentioned before, we're not showing you the Redwood sourcing application today because not all the functionality is available from a Redwood perspective. So therefore, we'll be utilising standard. and that will go through negotiations. And now Hassan will take you through an end-to-end negotiation, starting from the requisition. Hassan, do you want to take control?
Sure. Thank you, Andy. Hi, everyone. I'll share my screen. Andy, can you confirm if you can see my screen? Yes. Hi, everyone. So, as Andy mentioned, there are different ways in which we can start the processes in different stages. It's not like a hard and fast rule that what we are doing right now. That is the process that we have to follow. And by that, what I mean is that the process can start independent. The procurement department can start the process independently by analyzing past spend and then starting the negotiation process independently. On the other hand, as we are doing right now, in an integrated application, what can happen is that the data and user department can create a demand in the form of requisition. Then that demand can move over to procurement sourcing department, which can then utilize that and get over to the next one. All of these again because we are showing this in an integrated environment. That's an overview. I'll start off from where we are starting right now. The end user department has created a demand in the form of purchase requisition that has been approved. When that lands into a sourcing team, by that we can say a category manager. From there, we're going to take this over, and screen you can see this is where the category managers land, and they can see all the requisition which has landed to them, which they can utilize to either create orders or to take them through the sourcing process. I'm going to click on this purchase requisition lines which require my attention as a category manager. Currently, I'm logged in as a category manager we're starting with RFQ process. All of these lines you see they are all approved requisitions which have landed based on different assignment routes to the relevant category manager. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the requisitions and add this to the document builder. By this, primarily what I'm doing is I'm basically utilizing my source data of requisition and moving this over to my RFQ. In the type, I'm going to select new negotiation. Negotiation is primarily where we negotiate everything in the sourcing process. Then I'm going to choose my type. We have different types of negotiations available: auctions, Oracle support auctions, RFPs, RFIs, RFQs, the two-stage, single-stage, commercial-based, technical, all of these different things. What we will be focusing on today is a bit in more detail. So we will be focusing on a two-stage process where we are going to seal the negotiation and then do all of the technical analysis and then move it over to the commercial stage and do the commercial analysis and then take it from there. So I'm going to choose my negotiation type as RFQ, and my negotiation style is going to be composite scoring. In terms of negotiation styles, negotiation templates, we can configure as many templates as are required, which supports primarily different types of purchasing that the company is doing. So let's say IT services can be one type of template. In that template, we can change the cover pages, we can change the requirements or the technical basic infrastructure. We can change the document type. We can change. We can default the supplier list if you know them at that point. Similarly, and all of this. All that template will do is basically default the data. So we have defined a template, and now we are utilizing that to default the data, which will basically speed up the process of creating a negotiation. Similarly, we can have another template which can be for construction, which can be for cleaning services, which can be for hiring, and all of them can have different types of suppliers, different types of requirements, different types of cover pages, overviews, and controls. I'm going to choose one of these template IT equipment, and you can see my outcome has defaulted automatically to blanket agreement. And click OK. I will now click on create. So all of this process is being done currently by the category manager, who is taking the demand and then converting it to RFQ. So we can see an RFQ is created. We have an RFQ number as well, 31798. And to copy this, we can title our negotiation, IT services, equipment upgrade. Five. This is the category manager, which defaults automatically as buyer. We can see some of the data because as I mentioned, I was selecting my template, so some of my data has automatically defaulted. So now you can see this is basically where I'm authoring complete of my negotiation before launching it. So all of the documentation or the way that you currently do your negotiation or your sourcing process, that can be embedded within this application. So we can replicate your existing templates of negotiation to replicate them in the application. Then we have the options to choose close date. We can have a fixed close date. That is when our negotiation will close corresponding. So suppliers will not be able to respond after this date. When do we want to open this negotiation? There's an open date. We have the award date. If we want, we can have the award. We can mention the award date. If not, we can skip that and we can award it whenever we want after we have closed and completed all of our scoring and processes. Because this is a two-stage, as I mentioned, because I'm creating a two-stage negotiation, so I'm going to choose my response visibility as sealed, just to show that this will be actually sealed. Nobody will be able to see the prices and responses up until the point you actually unseal them, and that is when the users and everybody can see the responses. Otherwise, we can keep this as blind, and then users will be able to see, your category managers will be able to see the responses as and when suppliers are submitting them. I will choose my scoring as composite. So we have two different scoring methods. One scoring method is solely based on price. So if you have, again, as I'm explaining, this is the application supports different scenarios. So if you have, if the sourcing that you're doing right now is primarily for some standard product, if you are procuring stationery, that's a standard product. So all you need, and you're only worried about the price, then you can use the ranking method as a response amount only. Otherwise, if you have a more technical or a larger project that you're launching, then for that you can have a composite scoring, which will basically allow you to have a comparison based on price as well as your technical requirements and how the supplier ranks about on those different technical requirements. We are going to enable team scoring just to show how this will work with different teams. We can show our different criteria to supplier if we want. If not, we can skip that. Then there are a couple of other responses, but because of time, I'm not going to explain all of these things because currently I'm focused on more on a business perspective. So, but there are other options about to control the visibility and how the suppliers respond on this negotiation. In terms of, then there are some basic terms, which are like your procurement terms, who's going to deliver the goods, and first, what are your payment terms and all. And then there is your collaboration team. Okay, collaboration team is where you will add your internal people who you either want to just give visibility of this negotiation to, or you want them to score the negotiation. So I'm going to, by default, as you can see, some of the people have been are defaulted. The person, this is the category manager, from which I'm logged in. So that is defaulted automatically. Then James, who is my manager, as the manager of category manager, is also defaulting. And then the person who created the negotiation is also defaulting. So there are a couple of these things which are defaulting, but we can add more team members by clicking on add. And I have a sheet from where I'm going to add these people in. So I'm right now I'm adding different people from the business to which will, and then I'm not going to show them everything. I'm only concerned with showing them, allowing them to score the responses. So that's what I'm giving them the access to right now. They'll not be able to see a complete negotiation, just the scoring bit of this It is already there. Let's in scoring only. Save. And you can see, and after this, what we can also do is we can send notifications to these people from the system. And when a notification is sent, it basically sends an email plus in-app and notification to that user as well that you are added to this negotiation. And then based on the target dates, they can receive that you will need to respond. You will need to score the relevant responses by this date. I'm going to choose some dates. Let me skip these for now and I'll give them separately after. So that's this bit. The next bit is about lines. Lines are coming from my negotiation because my users had already created the demand for the product which they wanted. So, and I have used that to create my negotiation. So the lines or the actual product that I'm procuring is automatically coming from from that site. I can see them here, and then the next one is my requirements. Some of the requirements you can see these are actually your questions. Now you can have the questions. You can have a technical questionnaire. You can have a functional, non-functional, quality, or any kind of questions that which are different to the price that you're offering. So supplier will respond on the price in the lines, but on all the other requirements for scoring suppliers, you will add them as questions in the requirement section. In terms of, as you can see, when I created this negotiation, a lot of these questions are defaulting based on the template that I've selected. So we can have different questions set up for different templates. So IT can have one set of questionnaire, construction services can have one set of questionnaire, another set of questionnaire, hiring can have another set of questionnaire, and so cleaning can have another set of questionnaire depending on their requirements. But that's just there to default the data. But after them, we can also add new questions in as and when based on the specific negotiation that we are creating. So I'm going to add some here as well. I'm going to select this one. I'm selecting this one as financial viability, and I will select one more, which is sustainability.
And Sam, these are standard questions that are available within SQM.
Yeah, that's what I was going to explain next. That this is integration with the SQM. We will explain SQM later on as well, but this is how SQM interacts with sourcing and in a complete suite. So currently, right now, what we did was that the definition of these questions like code of conduct, public company experience, all of these questions were defined in SQM, and we have used the predefined questions in SQM and defaulted them in our sourcing process to quickly create or to complete our sourcing process quickly, rather than entering these questions time and again when we are creating different negotiations. So it's kind of a repository of questions which can be clubbed into different areas and models, which we'll explain later, and then later on which can be utilized with different modules, like right now we are doing in sourcing for the questions. So you can see all of these questions. Again, if you have a requirement, again, as I explained, this is just to automate or automate the process and complete it. The second bit is, if not, if you have very specific questions to this specific negotiation, you can create those questions in this negotiation as well. So those questions, you do not need to create them pre-hand in SQM. All you need to do, you can create them manually within this negotiation, specifically to this negotiation only. But what's going to happen is you can use spreadsheets as well. So if you have loads of questions, let's say hundreds of questions that you want to ask suppliers, then you can potentially create them using Excel and then just upload them using the spreadsheet option.
Yeah. Hassan, I'm conscious of time. We'll move on to some stuff that all the colleagues in the call. Please feel free to send in the questions coming in as is required. Yeah, and then we can come back to them.
I'm quickly going to update my team, create my scoring teams. So the people that I added there, I'm going to say business team, which will help me in scoring this negotiation.
Just as an aside, whilst Hassan's doing this, those questions can also be utilised for your onboarding questionnaire. Yeah, when you're actually onboarding suppliers, new suppliers. So therefore they're used for that. Contract terms, can we pull them from the terms library in procurement contracts? And again, they're the just default for these templates. They can be updated on the negotiation itself, pertinent to that negotiation.
So I've created now 2 different teams, and I have assigned different sections to those 2 different teams. And you will see them here that those 2 different teams have been added in these different sections as the scoring teams. And trying to equalize weight as well. This thing is small. Weighting is basically where we have an option to change the weight of the questions with different within the different sections. So if a section is more important for you, you can give that more scoring or the weight comparable to the section. Conscious of the time, so I'm quickly moving forward just to show you end to end. This is a place where we can now sourcing links with contracts as well. So what I'm going to do is because I know that after this sourcing is completed, I need to create a contract with supplier as well before I can actually start the procuring from them. So I'm going to create a basic draft structure of the contract right now, and I'm going to send this contract to my suppliers as a draft contract, just to give them an overview that after the negotiation process, if you are awarded with the contract, if you are awarded this negotiation, then you will need to enter into something like this kind of contract. So it can be, and the contract itself can be different types of contracts with different clauses. So we can have an MSA type of contract, SOW type of contract, call off contracts, non-disclosure agreements, all of these different types of contracts that we have. We can define different clauses, templates for that. But I'm just going to use one just to show how this will look to suppliers as well. I will use MSA type, enter my name, enter contract number, and then select our template. And you will see a lot of data will default based on the contract that I select here. The basic idea is that the contract template setup is a separate contract management area where we define all these types, templates, clauses, everything. And then we are utilizing that in sourcing to automate the process and to create an end-to-end visibility of contract sourcing demand. So we used a demand which was created in the form of requisition, converted that to RFQ. Now using that RFQ, within that RFQ, we are creating a contract, not creating a contract, just explaining the supplier that this is the type of contract that you will need to enter. And then after that, we will create a contract. So you will have like this end-to-end visibility of the things, starting from demand up until the purchasing and subsequent payments as well against the contracts. If and when you enter with the relevant supplier. So you can see all of these different terms of my different terms from my terms library, which for this contract has defaulted now, which will go to suppliers. And then moving on to list of suppliers. These are the suppliers that I'm inviting currently to participate in my negotiation. These are defaulted again based on my template, but this is where we can utilize SQM as well to search different suppliers and then select whether they are required or not. So I'm just going to show you something right now related to ABC. If I add this supplier to my selection, this is one of the additional suppliers that I'm adding. We can select suppliers based on different criteria. We can mention in different classifications. We can have our categories against suppliers. So for IT suppliers, we can mention them as part of supplier master, and then we can utilize that category to filter out all the suppliers which are providing that category to invite to this negotiation. As you see, I added this one. ABC Consulting, you can see it says not eligible for sourcing. This is again happening using SQM. In SQM, we qualified this supplier, and after all the scoring and everything, it came out that this supplier is not either agreeing with not our code of conduct, or doesn't have some specific certification that we need, that we wanted. So then we have automatically said that, okay, this supplier is not for sourcing. So sourcing team went in, negotiated and assessed a supplier separately, and then whenever a category manager is creating the negotiation, they can see within the system that, okay, there is this supplier which we cannot add because they are not meeting our basic eligibility criteria for them to involve in the sourcing. I'm going to take this out, but I was just going to explain that this is how it works. I will add one other supplier here, and that's fine. Quickly moving on to the next step. These are just cover pages, which we can again default based on different requirements. And then review area, publish. After publishing, we can have those some approval setups that before publishing a negotiation, it can go through. It has to go through our. It has to go through approval, but right now we have configured the approval as auto approval, so negotiation will just be approved automatically. This is a landing area for sourcing, where our suppliers or users can do most of the sourcing stuff, where they can see all where the category manager does most of the stuff, where they can see all the open negotiations in different statuses. They can see the responses to score, sourcing programs, the updates which are currently doing. They can see their existing performance as well. If they are saving something, how much they are spending. And this is all based on specific user from which I am logged in. Yep, my negotiation is now active. You can see it's also logged. And now what I'm going to do is the next step in my process is, after this negotiation is published, all the list of invited suppliers receive emails as well as in-app or supplier notifications in the supplier portal to acknowledge and respond on these negotiations. I can't show you. I'm not going to show you the emails right now, but suppliers do receive the emails after that negotiation becomes active. Now I'm going to log into one of the suppliers as a supplier using supplier portal and show you a response creation against that negotiation. I will be moving a bit quickly now. Sorry, I've explained you basic of how it's working, and I'm conscious of time. So I'm quickly going to create some. This is our overview of supplier portal. We can discuss that separately. It's added in your in the overview PPT, which Andy was sharing as well, but I'm focusing on negotiations right now. So this is how my supplier logs in, and when they move into negotiations area, they will see the negotiation in which they were invited. This is the latest negotiation which I have just created, and they can see that you haven't acknowledged this. They can acknowledge it by just saying that I'm going to respond or not if they want. And once they've done that, the category manager automatically receives a notification back saying that the supplier has acknowledged that they will respond to this negotiation within the timelines. They can see the timelines as well about when this negotiation will be closed off. Now, in terms of there is, I'm going to open this one and I'll show you one additional functionality which is called messages. So if after a supplier has received a RFQ bundle in which they want to respond, you will see all of the details are still opening. You can see all of this. They can download PDFs as well. We can customize these PDFs, which will show them a bundle of everything, and then they can see all the. And this is what they see. When is this negotiation expiring? This is the overview from the cover pages. This is those are some different rules that we set up. These are the terms, and you can see they can see a contract, a draft contract copy as well, which we added during our contract creation. And you can see this. This is a PDF document of that same negotiation that I was just showing you. But I'm not. And then they can see all the relevant questions that they need to respond to. And then in the last, they can see the prices where they need to respond prices. I'm quickly going to create, if they need some further clarifications, instead of sending you emails, which you can lose the track of separately, they can use messages functionality. Messages will basically a back and forth communication that the supplier can do with you within the system on this specific negotiation, so that a track is maintained. You can say close date extension. And then actually there's an AI as well. And if you click this after mentioning subject, AI will create a draft message for you, which a supplier can change as well. And you can see the message is created. Sorry. They can tweak this message and also add something else and then send it. This will send an email as well as an in-app notification to your category manager as well. And then they can respond back to supplier with the relevant answers as well. And this can happen back and forth. So you're maintaining the entire track of everything. And one supplier cannot see the questions of the other suppliers, but the category manager can see all the questions and everything. So now I'm going to respond to negotiation, by creating response. I can respond by spreadsheet as well, but just to save time, I'm quickly going to respond here. Some of the questions are coming in as automatically responded as well, because the supplier has responded to these questions previously in some other negotiations or during onboarding of supplier as well. So that's kind of defaulting as well for them. Other than that, if you might find some questions, they can change the answers as well. They can find some questions which they might have not have answered, and they can only answer those. But because these I had answered these questions in previous negotiations and during onboarding, so they are still defaulting. They can obviously change these to whatever they want. And you can see all of these. These questions can be tweaked in whatever way you want. I'm just showing you a demo of what the different questions options you have. You have a multiple choice options. You have a text-based questions. You can have a single choice questions like these, whatever you want. And then once they've responded to all of the questions, they can add attachments, and you can make actually requirements attachments mandatory as well. So if you are asking for them to attach ISO certification, then and if they answer yes, they have to respond. If they answer no, then they don't need to attach requirement. But if they answer yes, they have to attach requirements. And then the last one is the actual price, which I'm going to add here. And then submit my response. And you can see my quote has been submitted. I'm going to log out from this supplier quickly and log into a separate supplier to respond from them as well, to show you the automatic comparisons. So this is my second supplier.
Hassan, I think that we're really running out of time. Maybe just go through into the one supplier. Don't know what you think.
Yeah, that's fine. In a very similar way, suppliers are going to multiple suppliers can respond back to these different negotiations. But because of the time shortage, I'm going to now move over and just show you the one response that the supplier has already submitted. I've logged back into my as a category manager, and in this category manager, you can see you get the notifications and emails for the questions or the messages that the supplier has sent you. You receive the notifications when the supplier submits a response or when they acknowledge participation as well. So now I'm going back as a category manager. I'm moving back to my negotiations area and going to open the negotiation which I've just created in active status. That's the negotiation. And you can see here on the dashboard, it says one response. That means one quotation. When different suppliers will keep sending you notifications, you will keep receiving them. And this is the messages area where the supplier sent them the message, and where now a category manager can see a message and then can respond back to supplier using the system as well. And you can just simply say click reply and then enter your details, whether you are extending this or not, and all of those things.
Yeah, and that supplier, you can also select all, can't you?
Yeah. If you want, when you are replying, you can say, is this being sent to supplier? And then within the suppliers, you can select all the suppliers, or you can say to only one specific supplier, whatever these different options are available to you. Moving back. So now, because of the time shortage, I'm moving quickly. I'm closing my negotiation with only one response, not creating multiple responses. I'm clear. I have closed this early, and now I'm going to open this negotiation for unlock. And now I will open my scoring, where my team members can come in and score the negotiation. I will again score from this same category manager user, but just to tell you that all those team members that we added in the negotiation, they can respond to this negotiation. They can score this negotiation in the system. So, and they can send messages back and forth to each other and to category manager as well in the system. So that entire track of negotiation is in one place, that what was created, supplier questions, internal discussions, all of this against the negotiation or the project is kept within the system for the audit and trail. And you move here, and now because of open scoring, so I should be, and in this my landing area, I'm using the same user, which is my category manager. But as I've explained, your actual team members from business teams, they can have access to this area, and then they'll see this responses to score. They'll not see all the negotiations or everything. They'll only see this area where they need to respond. And once they open that, you will. You can progress them, so you can see those progress here. And now I'm going to score my responses, as you can see, because there's only one supplier, so I'm going to score only one supplier. But if we had multiple suppliers, we can score all of them together here one by one. And you can see how will you evaluate this company's performance, and adding them as for giving them as tools for scoring. And when there's this one, this is fine. Questions can be automatically responded as well, automatically scored as well, based on the different options that the user selects. So if you have multiple choice questions, we can default them to have those answered automatically. And now, as you can see, I've scored them up. after this, I will show you now. If we look back into this negotiation, and we can, after all the scoring from different teams is completed, we can close down our scoring, and then we move on to one ceiling area. And now we can see, we can even apply the knockouts. If you have a knockout criteria, you can apply the knockouts. If you have different suppliers, and then you can apply the knockout, and the supplier which do not qualify will automatically be taken out. In terms of now awarding a supplier, you can see there's an option of view automatic award negotiation. After all the scoring is complete, you can find this data here, which will tell you the score of the supplier. And you can see, because we have only single suppliers, so they are being scored. If you have different suppliers here, you will find 1, 2, 3, 4 all suppliers and their relevant score, which they have, which they have taken. And this score includes both the area of commercial plus your technical requirements, and you can see them here. You can see the individual scoring because these were automatic questions, so the responses have been scored automatically against them, and the price is also there.
Yeah, and if we've got multiple responses, then basically you see them side by side with regards to the responses.
Yeah. And then now, if we accept our recommendation, if we have in terms of what system is going to do is, if you have multiple suppliers, it will give you a recommendation based on the best score, because this was a composite scoring negotiation. And then you can, and if you choose, and then if you select that, and this is the last two steps. First step is, let's say after those comparisons scoring is all completed, then the last step that you do is that with one click you can create a contract for this supplier, for the supplier where you are awarding the negotiation as well. So what I'm going to do is, for this one supplier to whom I'm awarding this negotiation, I click on this create contract, and the system will create an automatic contract for this supplier too, which will be specific to this supplier. I can note down this contract number, which I can show you separately. There's my contract created, which we can later on utilize to negotiate terms, deviations, and all. And then this is my last step, where I'm going to complete my data. This is fine. This is okay. Submit for approval. This is basically my award decision is being submitted for approval. If you want, you can have this approval again. If not, this can be automatically approved. And once this negotiation, this award decision gets approved, that means that our sourcing is now complete. So what we have done up until now is, we have taken a demand. You utilize SQM within the sourcing module to build out our questionnaire, and then check our suppliers who are eligible for sourcing, then taken the responses from supplier portal, and all in all, after taking the responses, we have also we have applied knockout criteria. We have scored the responses with different team members involved from the business. And once all of this is done, in the last step, we have now awarded a negotiation and created a contract for that supplier, which is a draft contract, which you can further negotiate in the contracting module, which we can show if the time permits in a moment. But this is all end-to-end sourcing.
Yeah. Thanks, Hassan. So basically what that's done is actually taken through from a requirement where we don't have a source. We've gone through to an automated RFQ. We've taken in details from the contract terms library to utilise on the negotiation for the terms. We've then selected, based upon SQM, the suppliers that we can actually utilise on this negotiation. Then we've gone through and submitted the negotiation and had the suppliers log in to actually respond to the negotiation. We've then evaluated objectively the bids, and then we've awarded the bid to create an output document from a procurement perspective. Yeah, everything's contained within the system. The supplier will have received that detail with regards to having been awarded or been rejected, and then you get the full history that's showing why it was rejected and who won the bid. Yeah. Okay. There's a couple of questions from Elizabeth. Now, I'm really conscious that we're running out of time. Let me just take back. Share the doc. Okay. Yeah. Where are we now? We're in there. Okay. So therefore, we've gone through sourcing. These are all just additional details which I'll share with you post the call. Negotiation and awards, surrogate bidding, supplier portal, and award analysis. We have SQM. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so therefore it's a process where we can actually manage the suppliers with regards to having them evidence collected, automating questionnaires. The triggers are really when you come on for supplier registration. You can evolve the questionnaires. You can link in qualification documentation. We can utilise that for sourcing invites. We can do periodic renewal. So if you do have a certificate, then basically you can have automatically sending out a request for new certification based upon the expiry date, or we can create an ad hoc event, ad hoc event, like so if we want to understand the sustainability qualifications, etc., we can create an initiative to send that to the supplier. Yeah. Again, within here, we're running out of time, but define qualification methods and models. We can launch initiatives. We can use dynamic questionnaires, similar to what you've seen there in the negotiation. We can track certification, business classification, diversity, ESG. We can have a supplier life cycle, pre-registration vetting, sourcing invitations. I don't want to go through all these, but this is what we can do from there. Again, I think we're going to be limited in what we can actually show in the timescales, Hassan. We might be worthwhile going on to some of the questions in case there are questions from the colleagues. We can share the deck and we might have to follow on with a subsequent section. So procurement contracts is similar. We'll share this with you. The key takeaways from our point of view are from supplier qualification, let's standardise the vetting qualification methods. We get eligibility controls. We can invite, award POs based upon these controls. We can evidence validity dates and expiry alerts. We can qualify them, and we can do initiatives ad hoc and do bulk. We can clearly have a RACI with regards to that, and we can do the collaborative communication, what you've seen with regards to negotiation. From a sourcing perspective, we can set up standard template styles and enable repeatable RFI, RFP, RFQ, e-auctions at scale. We can do two-stage RFQs where we can have technical and commercial people involved, and therefore then having some objectivity with regards to decisions about who's going to be awarded the tender. Again, functionality there allows you to extend, auto-extend, stagger, rank visibility. We can share that with the suppliers. We can have a seamless award conversion to BPA CPA, and then we can have embedded approvals in the audit trails. And as you saw, we can have collaborative communication. So everything can be retained within the system and it's auditable. From a procurement contracts perspective, we can create a terms library. We can have templates. We can do contract terms validation. We can any deviations to a contract, we can have those detailed and must go for approval. We can put in deliverables and renewals. We can do catalogue publication from PAs, and we can do full versioning, red lines, and e-signatures to support end-to-end digital records. And we can again utilise the collaborative communication. So takeaways, synergies. Utilise all three, we get the full synergies. A lot of companies aren't using all three. They probably do have a procurement license if they have this, or if you're looking to do that. And as you can see across there, we can go across all the modules, providing all the relevant information in order to facilitate a day-to-day procurement professional's life, to make it easier, quicker, available within the system, history, transparency. Yeah, whereas as opposed to actually having them on disparate parts of the system. We've got eligibility controls and validations, we've got approvals, we've got templates, we have the subsequent analytics at the back of that. So therefore, by implementing all three, you will get the benefits that are actually across the three. Yeah. My apologies. Questions and answers. We're now on to that section. Are there any questions? And I'm aware of the time. I know that Elizabeth has been putting a number of questions in the chat, and we'll come on to them. Are there any other questions that colleagues on the call would like answered at the moment?
Possibly, Andy, if you could just quickly summarise what Elizabeth was saying, in case anyone hasn't read that.
Yep, no problem. So therefore, Elizabeth's asking a few questions. Other clarifications: do the suppliers have the ability to ask for changes to the standard terms in negotiation? They can ask to that, request that. You'll see that through the messaging. They can request terms to be updated with regards to negotiation. We've also seen some instances where the buying organisations put a checkbox on there that you must accept the terms and conditions of the negotiation prior to being able to participate. Yeah, so we've seen that again. We always get the battle at the forums, and we can see that's where it is. So therefore, yes, you can. Other clarifications seen by only a supplier in the organisation, as we showed there, you can actually share it with one of the suppliers, or you can share it with all. And a lot of the times when you've got some relevant information that's relevant to the negotiation itself, then you want to probably share that with everyone, but you have the ability to share with that. So can you limit the negotiation? Can you block the category manager's ability to open the response until the end date? From that perspective, then we have a number of controls that are in place with regards to, until the bids are unlocked, then basically you won't be able to see the responses. You can do sealed bids that won't be available, or blind bids, sorry, that won't be available until you've unlocked the negotiation response. You can also have sealed bids, which won't be available until the date of when you've closed the negotiation for responses. Can we type rationale for our score? So once we do scoring, I think we can add attachments to sign, can we? Yeah, and justifications about why we're actually performing that. Yeah. Okay, good. Hassan's replied to that. So that's all the questions we had. Okay. If there are any further questions, then please feel free to drop them in an email or whatever to Hassan and myself. We will share post the call a copy of the documentation that we've used today. Apologies with regards to SQM and contracts. We felt it was important to actually walk through an end-to-end from a sourcing perspective, because we touch upon SQM and contracts. Yeah, but should there be a requirement for any subsequent sessions, then we're available. Yeah.
We'll also send a recording out as well. But thank you very much, Hassan and Andy. That was very informative and looked like it was difficult to squeeze everything in. But thank you very much, and thank you everyone for attending. So that concludes this webinar. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.